Hello everyone! Now you will hear a brief summary of the movie Heidi. Enjoy watching. The second half of the 19th century. Heidi is a young orphan whose upbringing was taken care of by her Aunt Detta. But apparently, caring for the child became a burden for her, and she decided to take her niece to her grandfather, Alpo. There are various rumors about the man. Supposedly, he has become so wild that he even forgot how to speak, and he certainly won't be happy about another mouth to feed at the table. The girl felt hot, and she took off her dress to run around with the animals. In just her undershirt, Heidi appeared before her grandfather, who was busy chopping wood. Detta says she found a job in the city and can't take the girl with her. "Get out, and take her with you," says the grumpy grandfather. The woman indeed ran away, but left the girl at the house, promising that the old man wouldn't do her any harm. Heidi now doesn't know what to do. It turns out she is not needed by anyone. Alpoi shut himself in the house, leaving his granddaughter outside. With nothing else to do, Heidi took her things and went to the barn, spending the night there next to the goat. In the morning, grandfather silently entered the room, milked the goat, and gave the milk to his granddaughter to drink. He plans to take the girl to the pastor so he can figure out what to do with her. The pastor examined Heidi, looked at her teeth, and concluded that the child is strong and healthy, so there shouldn't be any problems with her. But Alpohi still doesn't intend to keep Heidi with him. Well, perhaps some other farmer might take an interest in her. But the pastor will only go to the city in 3 days, so she will have to stay with her grandfather temporarily. Well, at least today he will allow her to stay in the house. However, inside there is only one chair and one bed. The girl wasn't upset, she was happy even with the attic full of hay. The next morning began with fresh milk, and an introduction to a young pastor named Peter. Today, they will go together to herd the goats. The boy is growing up without a father. Heidi says she likes it here much more than in the village, because when she lived with her aunt, she stayed at home all day. While the girl was running around the meadow, Peter secretly nibbled on the sausage and cheese that grandfather had packed for Heidi. He blames the goat for everything. Then 2 horned animals got into a fight. Peter started hitting them. Then Heidi suggested to the boy that she would give him half of her food if he would stop hitting the goats. Later, Peter told the girl that, according to rumors, her grandfather had killed someone. Heidi decided that in that case, it would be safer for her to sleep in the barn. Alpoha guessed that Peter had been talking about him today. But these are all dirty rumors, and Heidi shouldn't trust them. The girl hugged her grandfather and ran up to her attic. The next day, Alpoha took out his carpentry tools, and he began to craft something. Heidi tells Peter that tomorrow her grandfather will take her to the pastor. But when she returned, she saw a second chair that her grandfather had made for her. The happy girl realized that she could stay here and continue having fun with Peter. However, summer ended, and Peter would no longer be herding goats until the next spring. He would be going to school. Heidi came to the village with her grandfather. Everyone looks at the Alpohi with caution and discontent. They met the pastor again, and he insists that the girl must go to school and learn to read. Heidi herself would like that, but her grandfather has his own views on life. The child is restless and wishes for spring to come quickly, and her friend Peter has returned here. To cheer up his granddaughter, the Alpohi takes her sledding and brings her to Peter's house. The boy himself is still at school. Heidi meets his mother and blind grandmother. Finally, Peter arrived. The family lives very poorly. Instead of cheese and sausage, they eat boiled potatoes and stale bread. Spring has arrived. Detta unexpectedly returned to the village, and upon arriving at Alpohi's, she announced that she had found a place for Heidi in the home of a wealthy family. They will attend school together with their daughter. But this time, Alpohi does not want to let his granddaughter go. Detta heard that the old man is not allowing the girl to go to school. If necessary, she will call the villagers and they will take Heidi from Alpohi by force. Detta found her niece and told her that she could live in a big, beautiful house. The wealthy parents are looking for a friend for their daughter. But Heidi wants to stay. Then Detta lied, saying that Grandpa also wants the girl to live with her. The woman doesn't even give her a chance to say goodbye to Peter. The old man realized he had been deceived. He wanted to catch up and stop his niece. But she had already left the village. The townspeople laugh at Alpohi, and he barely holds back his tears. Heidi looks sadly at the alpine mountains she has grown to love. Soon the girl found herself in bustling Frankfurt. The aunt took her, inserted her into the Sesman mansion. The enormous building is teeming with servants. First, Heidi is introduced to the governess. The strict woman decided that the girl was too small, and her name is somewhat unchristian. But Deta assures that she is exactly what the master wanted. An unspoiled girl from the village, and she can't wait to receive her payment. Deta simply sold her niece. Heidi met a girl named Clara, who cannot walk and is confined to a wheelchair. Heidi wheeled Clara around the room and immediately broke a vase. The blonde lied, saying it was her fault. During lunch, Heidi started slurping soup directly from the plate. She doesn't know how to use cutlery, and she hid one of the rolls in her pocket. The governess teaches the girl with a metronome and explains the schedule she will now follow. But Heidi had already dozed off and didn't hear the woman. The next morning, the maid bathed Heidi and scrubbed her with a stiff brush. Afterwards, she dressed her in a fancy dress. Clara helps her get accustomed and shows her how to use cutlery. But reading is a complete disaster. Heidi doesn't even know the letters. This outraged the teacher and the governess. "How did this wild, uneducated creature end up in our house?" the woman exclaims indignantly. She plans to ask Mr. Sesemann to send the girl back to the mountains. Clara asked Heidi to bring her to her mother's room. In the painting, they are depicted together, with Clara shown standing. The fact is, she fell ill after her mother passed away. Her father is constantly traveling for work, and she is forever stuck in this house. During the quiet hour, Heidi asked the servant Sebastian to open the window. She was really hoping to see the mountains, but they are too far away from here. The restless one decided to take Clara for a ride through the city streets, and at the same time climb the tower from which she could see her beloved mountains. She left Clara right in the middle of the market square. The governess discovered that the Fräulein had disappeared somewhere, along with her new friend. Even after climbing the tower, Heidi still couldn't see the mountains. She misses her grandfather very much. At the same time, Clara was offered to buy a kitten for a couple of pennies, but she couldn't resist and bought them all, kittens. Sebastian finally found the girls. At the mansion, the governess scolds them. Suddenly, she started sneezing non-stop. It turned out that the woman is allergic to cats. She panicked and demanded the kittens be removed. Sebastian promised to take care of the animals. As punishment, the governess left Heidi without dinner and put her in the corner. Next time, she threatens to lock the girl in the closet with rats. Heidi managed to gather a whole bag of buns. She changed clothes and was about to leave the house, but the governess stopped her. Deta lied to the girl, saying she could return to the mountains anytime she wanted. And she was collecting the buns for the toothless grandmother who couldn't chew stale bread. Clara cried because she no longer had any friends. The girl doesn't leave her room, she's not feeling well. Heidi herself went to her upset friend. "I only have you," Clara says, "and we could have a wonderful time together." Studying is difficult for Heidi. She just can't learn the letters. All the servants lined up in a row. Herr Sesemann arrived home with his mother. The woman is much gentler in character than the governess and asks Heidi to call her grandma. The father noticed that Clara has become more cheerful with her friend, but the governess claims that the girl is out of her mind. She doesn't know the letters, disrupts Clara's studies, and her behavior is completely wild. Grandma doesn't believe a word of it. She will personally observe the mountain girl's behavior. The woman resorted to a trick and, without finishing the bedtime story for Heidi, suggested she read it herself. If only she could read, she would be able to find out how it all ended herself. The Countess tells her son that Heidi is a sweet girl and she will learn to read. The main thing is to spark her interest. But she is not very happy here. Life in the house is not for her. However, according to Herr Sesemann, that doesn't matter. The main thing is that Clara is happy. When the maid was sneaking the master's wine at night, she heard strange, frightening sounds. Together with the governess, they decided it was a ghost. Sebastian discovered that the front door was open, but who did it? All the servants believed that something supernatural was involved. The girl indeed quickly learned to read, much to the delight of the teacher and the family. Sesamon. The father promises Clara that she will stay with them forever. Upon learning this, Heidi cried at night. Soon the grandmother left the estate and the governess once again became the main caretaker. Herr Sesemann and the doctor heard something terrifying at night. They took pistols in hand to fend off the uninvited ghost. But it turned out that it was Heidi. She sleepwalks and goes out into the yard to look into the distance, probably towards the mountains. Sesemann discovered another pile of rolls. The girl woke up and said that she dreamed of her grandfather. She burst into tears. The doctor realized that she was depressed, homesick, and longing for the Alps. The next day, Herr Sesemann was forced to tell his daughter about it. But Clara disagreed. She is also sick and lonely. Clara yelled at her friend and told her to leave. Today, Heidi will be taken home to her grandfather. She wanted to talk to Clara, but the sad girl did not open the door for her. A whole basket of rolls was packed for Heidi. She asked to give Clara the eagle that her grandfather carved for her. Sebastian took Heidi to her native village. The locals are examining the girl's rich wardrobe. Peter immediately ran up to his friend. Finally, Heidi gave her some buns, which the toothless girl can now chew. Grandmother. And Peter received sausages as a gift. Alpo heard his beloved granddaughter calling him and ran to meet her. The old man was incredibly happy about her return, just as Heidi is happy to return to her usual activities in the mountains. She drinks milk, herds goats, eats simple food, and walks with Peter. Heidi writes letters to Clara. In the winter, she and her grandfather moved to the village so she could attend school. The pastor is much stricter than Clara's teacher. When asked what they want to be when they grow up, the students answer a shepherd, a blacksmith, or a farmer. Heidi, however, says she wants to write fairy tales. This makes the children laugh. Heidi tutors Peter after school, but studying is not easy for him. The girl misses her friend very much. And Clara now regrets not saying goodbye to Heidi. And the grandmother accomplished something incredible. She brought her granddaughter to visit the mountain girl. Not anymore. Reclusive Alpoha poured the distinguished guests some moonshine and agreed for Clara to stay with them for a few days. Heidi introduced her friend to the goats and Peter, who was too shy to approach for a long time. He is also jealous of Heidi, who no longer goes to the pasture with him. Now Heidi is teaching Clara rural table manners. Out of spite, Peter decided to cause trouble. He rolled the wheelchair, which fell off the cliff and shattered into pieces. Clara is upset because now she will have to stay in one place, all day long. Alpoha guessed that this was Peter's doing. He carried the sick girl on his shoulders right to the pasture. "Foolishness, your punishment," he says. "Peter." The old man ordered him to look after the girls and left. The boy is still sulking and Heidi went off to gather berries. Clara was left alone. A butterfly landed on her leg and flew away. The girl didn't notice how she suddenly stood up and almost went after it. With the support of Heidi and Peter, she was able to take a few steps. The next day, she managed to do it on her own. Sesemann came to the mountains for his daughter. He is furious. Grandmother brought Clara here without his permission. But he was speechless when he saw his daughter walking towards him without anyone's help. It's simply incredible. Grandmother brought Heidi a gift. A book, indeed without words. Heidi will fill the pages herself. And it doesn't matter that the local children laugh at her desire to write stories. They haven't seen anything beyond this village. But she had seen another world. If something brings joy, then it should be pursued. The friends said goodbye, and Clara went back to her city. And Heidi returned to the goats, Peter, and her usual life in the Alps. To freedom.